everybody. Dutch Sense here. 4:34 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday, January 28th, 2015. And I've got you over here on Yahoo News. And I'm just going down through these wonderful headlines, and I see this right here. Go ahead and read that, but I'll read it to you in case you can't read. Evidence doesn't support fracking as cause of Texas earthquakes. Let's go ahead and open that up. Okay. I don't even know where to begin with this. I'm going to read you guys the first couple paragraphs, and then we'll just get into this, okay? A recent spate of earthquakes in the Dallas area, centered around the old Texas Stadium in Irving, has raised concerns that hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, is the cause. Making that correlation may be understandable, but it's almost certainly wrong. The good news is that the series of earthquakes has been relatively minor, with the largest ranging in magnitude between 2.5 and 3.6. There was 11 in one day, let's just put it that way. And any damage appears to be generally limited to wall and ceiling cracks in a few homes. But when news reporters ask those homeowners and other Irving residents if they have any idea what has caused their quakes, some suggest that it could be fracking, a decades-old process that forces water into underground shale formations, driving oil and natural gas out of the fissures to be extracted. The reporters almost never follow up with facts, thus leaving the fracking speculation unchallenged. Fortunately, seismologists are investigating the Irving quakes. They have pointed out that there is no active fracking nearby. While there are two wells in the earthquake vicinity, one never produced anything and the other was shut down in 2013, according to Craig Pearson, a staff seismologist of the Texas Railroad Commission. These days, fracking gets blamed for almost anything that happens out of the ordinary. However, independent scientific studies have been unable to detect a connection between fracking and earthquakes, which is a blatant lie. Let's just go ahead and look that up. The USGS has already confirmed it. These people are lying. Now, here's all my posts on the Texas fracking earthquakes, and we'll get into those in a second. I'm going to open up a new window here, and we'll go up to Google and type in USGS confirms fracking earthquakes. There we go. Okay, you can go down to any one of these links, but here's the top one from the USGS. Takes us to usgs.gov/blogs, and they have a whole thing saying that USGS scientists have found that some locations, the increase of seismicity coincides with the injection of wastewater into deep disposal wells. Okay, so that's USGS basically fully contradicting what the guy from the Texas Railroad Commission is saying. Now, here's all my posts on it. You can see January 6, 2015, did a video on it, showing two back-to-back earthquakes in Snyder, Texas, and down in Dallas. To show that to you, and we can open up any one of these posts that I've done in the past, going back 2 years. Again, 2 years, and other people have mirrored this. Here we are on Jay Haynes, they've mirrored one of my posts, where I show the earthquakes that happen and the frac wells directly above the location in question. And if there's any question, we can zoom in on Google Earth here, and I've got place marks already around the locations. Okay? So you can see here, we're zooming in on Texas, and we're going to look at a couple different earthquake epicenters. Okay, the first one that they're talking about here is the one near the Texas Stadium. Now, we've had multiple swarms here. Okay, here's the old stadium. Here's a 3.4 back from November of 2014. And here's the old well they're talking about. Closed down in 2013. Well, you know, I hate to break it to you guys, when you drill it out, even if you fill it in with concrete, it's not going to do it. It's not going to fix the problem. You've already fractured the area out underneath at an angle. Okay, most frac wells are not straight up and down. Most of them go down, curve, and go in at an angle. That's the new technology, not decades old, but new that they've developed in the past few years is horizontal drilling. And that's what's being done that's causing the earthquakes, guys, in case you're wondering. So, already talked about that. Now look what's just a few city blocks over. There's no nearby wells, huh? Really? Really, Texas Railroad Commission? No nearby wells, huh? Really? I mean, look, okay, at some point or another, you guys are going to have to wise up and realize you're not getting the full deal, you're not getting the full facts from your officials. And that if somebody's going to make that kind of statement saying that there is no correlation when the USGS has already confirmed that there is, when we have nearby frac wells and they're saying there aren't any, okay, and let's go over to Earthquake 3D here, and let me show you the earthquakes over the past 24 hours. Look what's happening just to the north. And let me turn these rings down so you can see the states better. Here's Oklahoma. We've had a series of 4.0 earthquakes over the last week. Okay, and they've downgraded a few of them to 3.7, so you can see all these 3.7s. A couple of those were 4s, but by my own count, 4.0, 4.2, 4.3. And let's look up the biggest of those, just due north in Oklahoma, where it's already 100% confirmed. Okay, we don't have to take the Texas Railroad Commission report on this. We can actually look up the science on this and find out that the earthquakes are indeed related to fracking in Oklahoma. And I'm going to show you the largest earthquake here over the past few days in Oklahoma, just to the north. Boom. I have not looked up this earthquake previously, so I do not know what's right here at the epicenter. This will be the first time that I've looked this earthquake up. Looks like we have a cleared out pad here ready to go. What do we have? Do we have anything within a mile or so? Ah, okay, just to the north. There we go. Okay, oh, you can even see the shadow of the pump here. All right, so that's, you know, I mean, it's undeniable. Texas Railroad Commission, I mean, what are they even doing involved with fracking other than they own the land, maybe, where it's being done on? Maybe they own the well in question, and that's why they're in active denial. Whatever it is, I mean, come on, at this point, you know, we can just go ahead and brush them off our shoulders and get into the science of it. Which is, if you look at my earthquake post that I've made over here on my website, and let's get off this BS story. I will put a link to the BS story down below so you can come over and razz the author, or maybe even contact the Texas Railroad Commission and send them my video on this. Let them know that they are being contradicted on an official level, publicly being scolded, I guess. Maybe I'll just, you know, slap their wrist a couple times and let them know that they're wrong. But I'll put a link down below to my most recent earthquake update, where I fully go into why this is happening, why the fracking operations are unexpectedly moving. I will admit that this was unexpected, that they would say that this would have never happened, and if in a perfect world it wouldn't have. But the pressure has started coming from the northwest, and it's displaced all the operations all the way down from Colorado, New Mexico, at Trinidad, Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. All the fracking operations have moved heavily. Not just a little bit, we're talking a lot of movement, a lot of large earthquake activity happening. 5.0s, okay? 5.0 in southern Colorado, 5.0 in Oklahoma, 5.0 in Arkansas, all three at fracking operations confirmed. Again, this Texas guy, either maybe they don't know, but I mean, come on, if you're gonna be a professional and you're gonna be commenting on these things, then you've got to know. It's your job to know. This is just my pastime here, guys. So, I mean, come on, if I know, they've got to know, right? I mean, okay, here's another Oklahoma 3.4 fracking earthquake. You can just go down my page, guys, and it just explains it fully. Here's the Colorado operation. And let me just click on this so you guys can see, you know, what we're talking about here. We're talking about miles and miles of frac pads. Each one of the, I got tired of marking them in Colorado, but that's where the earthquakes are occurring, right below the frac pads. A few miles down, which means that the fracturing that's occurring is fracturing out much deeper and basically putting a liquid pressure on an area that was normally stable. And per the professionals, you don't have to take my word for it, I will attach a video down below you can go watch where they talk about how new science has proved that it liquefies the faults. And that's per the professional himself, a professor of geology, okay? We're not talking about some online nut, okay? We're talking about the professor of geology being interviewed on RT of all places.
Joining me now is Dr. Anthony Ingrafia, Dwight C. Baum Professor of Engineering and Vice Presidential Teaching Fellow at Cornell University. Dr. Ingrafia, welcome.
Glad to be back with you, Tom.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being back with us. Let's start with fracking itself. Remind us how the process works.
Fracking per se is the injection in shale of very large quantities, on the order of 5 million gallons or more, of fracking fluid with the objective of stimulating the shale to release its oil or gas. The relationship between fracking and seismicity, which is again under study and now becoming pretty much a scientific consensus, is that injection also lubricates, that is, makes easier to slip faults near the fracking site. It also changes the pressure distribution on those faults and releases stored energy. That's what an earthquake is. It releases stored energy because of slip on an existing fault. The faults in Texas and Ohio and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Colorado had been stable for, in some cases, eons. But the rapid expansion of the use of fracking and also the isolation of waste and injection of waste from fracking, both have now been fingered by science, by excellent scientists reporting in peer-reviewed journals as causing human-induced seismicity. No surprise.
Amazing. What were the specific findings of this Miami study, and what do you make of that?
The specific findings of the Miami study, they focused on the state of Ohio and did what any scientist would do, tried to establish both a spatial correlation and a time correlation between when the earthquakes occurred and when fracking activity occurred. And they found very strong correlation. They also determined that the fracking in this case was in an area where there was a pre-existing fault that was not previously mapped. That is, the operators had not been at that time, and in many states around the country still not required to find and map existing faults that might be triggered by fracking process or by waste injection.
Yeah. Do you think that this Miami study is going to influence policymakers?
One would hope so. There was an influence already in the state of Ohio. As far as I know, Ohio is the first state to enact new regulations requiring operators to be cognizant of existing seismic activity due to either waste injection or fracking, and they have to put monitors, seismic monitors, around their well sites, and they have during drilling and during fracking to determine whether they are in fact triggering human-induced seismicity. More importantly here is that this is an ongoing national scale experiment where we don't yet know for sure the magnitude, the upper end of it, which could be caused either by fracking itself or by waste isolation. What we do know is that the magnitudes have been creeping up. With waste injection, they started in the 2s, quickly got up into the 4s, and with seismicity due to fracking itself, again, they started in the 2s in England, British Columbia, and now we're seeing mid-3s. So there are a lot of seismologists right now that are running numbers trying to figure out whether the models that they had so far really can predict farther into the future what the magnitude might be, the upper end of the magnitude, as more and more fracking occurs, and more fracking occurs beneath major cities.
Right. As this causal relationship becomes more clear, two things come to mind as, whoa, we got to be careful. Number one is anywhere there's a nuclear power plant. Two concerns. We just have a minute left. Number one, nuclear power plants, and number two, you mentioned British Columbia. There's a huge, these faults running, the Ring of Fire faults that run all the way down the West Coast. They could trigger the big one in 30 seconds. What do you think we should do about these?
The obvious. I'm talking California now. There are many obvious, very large-scale fault systems in the state of California. And until recently, there was a very, very strong, shall we say, influence in the state of California to begin large-scale development of shale oil in the Monterey Shale, which would be disastrous, in my opinion, for two reasons. One, you need a large quantity of water. And as you know, California right now is kind of water-starved. Number two, California has recently determined that there were illegal injections of waste into water supplies of California. Amazing. And we have large-scale fault systems which can be lubricated and we can get larger scale seismic activity in California.
Right. Dr. Ingraffi, we're out of time, but thank you so much.
To it, and he fully admits it. Link is down below for that. Again, guys, the earthquakes that are happening, you have to go back and watch my earthquake forecast, which I've been doing almost religiously now because of the activity that's going on. But all the areas that we expected to move showed movement, including 2 more earthquakes on the East Coast, up here in Connecticut and up here in New Brunswick, right at the border of Maine. So these 2 areas here compensating for the movement here to the west, and the movement down in Texas compensating for the movement to the north. Hello, Earth to Texas Railroad Commission. The movement being caused in Dallas is being caused by the movement up here to the north, which itself is being caused by the movement up here to the northwest, which shows at Colorado, shows at Yellowstone, shows at the western Yellowstone magma chamber here at the 3.4, puts pressure down here to the south. I fully explained all this in my most recent update in text, in writing. You don't even have to listen to me talk. Okay, so again, the pressure starts up here in the Pacific Northwest. We see it build, we see it produce earthquakes right here at the swarm location, where you see all these earthquakes stacked. That's at the northwest border of Nevada. We see movement at the Yellowstone magma chamber. We see movement at the dormant volcano down here in Arizona. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's pretty impressive. Let me just show it to you. Okay, Arizona volcano coming to life. And this is really interesting to see because it produced a 5.0 earthquake no more than 6 months ago. So here we are, or just over 6 months ago, July 3rd, 2014. Arizona, definitely 5.0 earthquake. They did not downgrade it. Look where it occurred. I mean, you can see it from space. And on top of it is a little monitoring station built into the top of this clearly old dormant volcano. Now that's rising along the edge of the North American craton, which I go into in depth in all my earthquake updates recently, explaining how the pressure is transferring from the northwest to the south, to the east, and then back up the east coast. So it's no shock, no wonder, no surprise to see this movement happen now, here, and quite frankly, it's no shock, no wonder, and no surprise that we see the professionals still doing this denial game. Because look, I mean, people are going to have to adjust billions of dollars worth of structure and building code. And ironically, holy shit, I just remembered, the professional on RT talks about how they're going to have to adjust billions of dollars worth of building code due to this movement. As they even said in the denial article, well, all it caused were some cracks in some houses. Well, if it's causing cracks in houses, that's the near-term effect. We're talking, this is newly drilled out wells just a mile or a few miles over to the west that are going down a mile or two. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see those effects are going to spread out over time. And we're going to see larger earthquakes as the professionals are saying, that this is going to lead to larger earthquakes. We've already seen 5.0s. 2011, fracking operations, as I said in this video at the start, 5.0s in Colorado, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And that caused serious damage. Chimneys fell in, people were injured. So, Texas Railroad Commission, people were injured. You need to adjust your propaganda, so to speak, or get an education, one of the two. You can even watch my videos. I know it's painful, it's YouTube, but you'd have to watch my videos or maybe go back to school. I don't know. I mean, at this point, time to go back to school, guys, because it's being schooled by someone on YouTube. And I hope my viewers share this and get this out to the world and show the world how pathetic that is, that they're doing that and saying that and acting this way at this point in time with the scientific facts now in. And the denial has been on for a long time, okay? I mean, this isn't anything new. The Texas people especially, they've come out in the past directly addressing me personally, guys. You remember, University of Texas seismologist so-and-so says fracking earthquakes are extremely rare and minor. And then that was followed up with 5.0 earthquake activity across the board at the fracking operations. And he sure shut up, didn't he? What was his name? Cliff something? Cliff something. I don't remember his last name. Whatever it was, it doesn't matter. He's now irrelevant. He had to adjust what he said to meet the facts. Now I guarantee you he is now studying fracking earthquakes, not denying them. Railroad Commission, you've got financial gain. You've got that written all over you. So that's going to be why you're doing what you're doing. I get it. But I also hope the people of Texas get it and dismiss what you're saying and continue to further look into the nearby frack wells that are nearby the Texas Stadium as most likely the cause of the earthquakes directly below them. Oh, guys, much love, be safe, and always have an earthquake plan ready. Be prepared just in case. As you know, I live here in the Midwest, right here in St. Louis, so that's right in the middle of the New Madrid seismic zone. I would like to thank the people of Texas, the people of Kansas, the people of Oklahoma, and the people of Arkansas who agreed to take the brunt of the push of the plate and take the hit for the New Madrid and relieve that pressure for us so we don't get our big earthquake here. All your houses will be ruined down there, but we'll be okay up here. Us, Chicago, Cincinnati, Memphis, there won't be that big New Madrid earthquake because you guys are relieving the pressure like a pressure release valve along the edge of the North American craton. You guys here are relieving the pressure for us here. There is no going back on this. There is no filling it in with concrete. There is no going back in and backfilling the entire drilled out well with millions of cubic feet of concrete per well. Not gonna happen. Even if you cap the sucker off, it's not gonna fix the problem, guys. It's like drilling into a tooth. Once you drill it, you drill it. That's why we've got to be so careful about where we drill. The old geology is thrown out the window. You got to throw it out the window if you're practicing this in real life for your companies, for the world, for the government. You're going to have to adjust your theories. I'm sorry, guys. I wish there was some other easier way to get this out to the world. The only way to do it is to show you and demand that my viewers and the people that are watching this address it. Because right now, this kind of stuff, these articles, these BS articles, are what they're going to put out. And the people out there reading that don't understand exactly what they're reading will believe it. And hands down, if you're a homeowner in Texas, you have to demand this because they're going to deny it. You cannot deny it when the USGS has confirmed it. Okay? Be safe, guys.